But this time around, I feel like I feel like they do throw themselves another question of the 5v5 and do make it more. Their victory is more hinged upon the success of Rest than perhaps I would like to see.
Yeah, it's a little riskier, but I do think it is on brand for what Rest is going to try and do. So this early game is going to be very important, as are most in the CFO matchups. But it is worth reminding everybody what this series means as we are getting onto the Rift for game number 1. This is for a ticket to the grand finals of the PCS Spring Split. The loser will have another chance as they drop down into the bottom side of the bracket. Potential rematch in the finals could still be awaiting them. But all the same, very important to get that spot in the finals, looking to go forward to MSI. In the beginning, we see Qual and Kaiwing just poking each other out a little bit on that early roam, but just a few love taps, no full concerted engages. In our best of fives, we usually see the level 1s in game 1 being a little bit more standard. The crazy stuff comes later.
Yeah, you really want to see where this Hecarim is going to start. Typically, Hecarims do like their blue starts a lot because they can pull the SOFM, get 2 camps at once. So, CFO wanted to see if they were going to start the blue side or going to start the red side. If they start on the blue side, that means Rest can push a bit harder here into the top. And PSG still going for somewhat of a late
Okay.
here. This
I
is
spoke too soon here. They really want to get the play.
Yeah, I think this is more of a counter play here. So if CFO do manage to, or do try to poke their heads in, because they want to spot out this Hecarim, then they might be able to catch him red-handed. It doesn't happen. CFO play a very standard start. And meanwhile, on the top side, I do think Rest actually spotted out this Hecarim start by himself, so they should know where the jungle is going.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are underway, and that's going to be the 2v2. Started off early at Kaiwing getting the quick dredge line in, but as you mentioned, this is a lane that should get pushed in, but should have the opportunity to at least stay safe. One matchup that I am really excited for in this whole series is going to be that of Unified versus Shun, because it's very much our top 280 carries in a lot of ways, but Shun kind of just came in and disrupted the entire scene in Week 5. We didn't know what to expect from this guy, because up until that point, CFO seemed perfectly content to be running Atlan. But like the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle, Shun kind of leveled up this entire squad by giving a much more aggressive killer instinct side to the bottom lane. And honestly, it almost feels like kind of a 2022 doggo.
It definitely does feel that way. He's so much better in team fights. We do have a gank coming in very early on, though. Gemini. Let's see if it works.
All right, Force is Bay to flash away, and the command attack distance is actually going to get some damage done, but Gemini steps a little too far forward, gets put in Rune Prison. So Bay's out, but early flash burned. Advantage CFO. I want to see where the bear goes next.
That's really nicely done, and this leaves Bay in such a bad position. You really want to gank the Rise early on so he can't just run into a very smooth Tear of the Goddess build into TP here. And this gets super awkward for Bay because his wave might just stick around in a bad position, and it will allow Mission to kind of freeze and get a little bit more off here. So at 18 CS, he should still have the Tear, but this TP is a bit of an awkward TP coming in for Bay. We'll see how he plays this one. I'm not 100% sure about the lane state, but it does look possible that it might just be frozen in place, and that's going to be very dangerous for a Rise without the flash here. So I do expect that he will have to call Juhan here to kind of fix his wave.
And this is exactly what CFO did last time to PSG, is try to attack that mid lane and really get the plays off. A few unforced errors as well did give early edges to CFO, but that game still ended up going pretty late. The 5v5s were a lot closer than the gold game would have expected. Meanwhile, though, we got to check up in the top side. Hanabi having no trouble against Rest so far in this 1v1, so you have to think that without jungler intervention, that may stay the same. But what's this? Juhan.
Juhan doesn't win this.
He's going to face check right into Gemini. Actually starts by sweeping through it, and this is actually a good 1v1 right now. Gemini, I don't think he was watching the map. He might have been shopping.
Yeah. Juhan actually gets a lot of free damage in just with the first auto attack and the Q here. Gemini definitely caught window shopping, and he could just go down here.
Yeah, he's got no flash. That's first blood, and oh my goodness. Juhan is right on top of Rest, who also didn't really see this one coming, but he will turn it around with the shotgun. That is PSG finding the unforced error.
Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a weird exchange right there. I feel like in most instances, Volibear with PTA is not really that afraid of the Hecarim, but Hecarim just got so much free damage off on him. You know, just goes in with the, starts the Decimate off, gets the auto attack, and he was also running the red buff in there as well. And they were also coming in with the Bay on the teleport timing. So Bay was a little bit more pushed up, and very surprised that they're able to find that. And that's the biggest weakness of PSG against CFO in their previous matchup just gone now. Like, in the previous time, it was Bay falling behind in the 1v1 versus Mission. That's not likely to happen in this matchup anymore.
Yeah, that was huge right now. And just considering even nameplates, right? I mean, Juhan is a newcomer into this league, having been picked up from NS Red Force over in Korea. Gemini is a mainstay. He's a very experienced veteran player. We don't see mistakes like that out of him usually.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting to see how that one ends up. And if you look at the vision, that's also very detrimental to the top lane coming in for rest, because he's basically lost control of his topside jungle. He doesn't know where the Hecarim necessarily is. Of course, now he does. But, you know, he has to assume that sometimes this Hecarim is going to be in his top because the wards are there already. And that just means he can't push the matchup and get that advantage that Graves needs so much. In terms of team fights, you know, I'd still take the Gnar over the Graves in most situations. Unless the Graves is massively fed, he's not going to have the same impact.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is a risky strategy. They did want to play it to try and get the advantage, but they haven't really been able to do much now. Gemini being settled behind will try to set up for a dive, but he doesn't have access to his ultimate just yet, so this is pretty risky. In fact, nobody does at the moment. Koala is going to go in and actually get the knock-up onto Unified. They'll root down Kaiwing, but this is very dangerous as Koala already goes down. I don't think Gemini was on the same page as the rest of his bot lane.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird. I feel like Koala went in, and both his AD and jungler were surprised by the outcome. Now Kaiwing has an easy dredge line if he wants it. Oh!
And he takes it in. Woo! Forcing the flash out of Shun. This is huge. Maybe they can try to turn the 2v2, but no. Unified and Kaiwing flexing.
That was interesting because CFO had full vision advantage, and they also engaged first, but they came out worse for wear. So I'm not sure what to make of it. That was just straight up a 2v3 that PSG won, and now they also get to clinch down onto the top side as well. So massive coordination issues coming out for CFO.
Yeah, that's going to be the big devastating charge, and they will even bring Bay to the party on the portal, and Hanabi with the Gnar shove into the wall is able to get the kill. This will open up the Dragon opportunity, but PSG are just running this early game.
That's what we were talking about in the pregame. CFO, they might have the better individual pieces, but in terms of coordination, PSG are just on a completely different level right here. The top lane is in such a bad position. The bot lane is also, I'm not sure how they're going to survive. They're at a very awkward back against the Serrated Dirk plus the Vampiric Scepter right now. And the only place that they're winning is CFO and Mission. So we'll see what they make of it, but this early game is definitely not what CFO fans wanted to see.
I mean, what do you do if you're CFO right now? Like, do you opt for something crazy like lane swapping, just sacking Rest? I mean, he's such a big part of what the draft strategy called for. It feels like they don't really have a way to get him back on the board.
They need a hard force a win on top lane. Like, that's their only win condition. This is not a matchup where Graves naturally scales into a win like the Fiora or the Camille. So I expect Gemini to have to move top lane once he's level 6, try to find some kills here. But there's so many levels he has to go through to do that. There's a lot of wards in his topside jungle. There's even a pink on top of his Krugs. And he's also losing the 1v1 jungle matchup at this point. Like, Juhan has a level advantage. So they can only make the first move once they know that Hecarim is on the other side of the map.
Yeah, that's going to be tough as it's very situational. And Juhan, I mean, knowing this, like, sure, he's going to go down to clear his camps. They do have a ward over by the red pit, so there will be some indicator here. But let's keep a look at what's going on down bottom. Kaiwing goes in, a little bit of hopeful dredge line, doesn't find anything, but Unified and Kaiwing continue to be able to keep this push going. They're pretty happy with how the lane state is as well, and Gemini's actually going to show in mid here, completely open and spotted, so Hanabi can keep having his way with Rest up top.
Yeah, if you look at this top lane build, it's very interesting. You already see Hanabi, who has control of the wave, going straight for the Hullbreaker. While Rest on the other side, because he needs that late game win condition, he's going for the cull instead here. So the mentality and the builds, both of them are pretty non-standard, but you can tell right now that Rest actually is in a lot of trouble. He's already conceded the lane. He knows that he can win with that that kill deficit coming in, and also the hull breaker as the first item for Hanabi. So CFO are basically looking at the super long Kong at this point. They need the call to work out for them.
Oh, wait a minute, though. Here's Juan. Here's Kaiwing. They're looking to set up on the collapse. This is spotted, but the question is, can they do something about it? There we go. On two fronts as Kaiwing gets the knockup and into the Oriana Shockwave. Is he going to be able to walk away? Mission does. They actually turn it around by bringing way more friends than PSG had. 1 kill.
What a beautiful flash from Mission. He gets away from so much damage, but Shun puts himself in danger, though.
Oh, Kaiwing, he might have gotten baited in this, although the Flash forward Unified is going to be able to get the outplay on the back half of this one. However, a little bit low health bars. Maybe they can finish it around. Gemini getting a lot of gold in his pocket here as Kaiwing is heading for the hills. Here comes Mission to try and cut off Unified. And the great Xayah chase of 2022 commences.
He does have a heal, so I do expect him to be able to walk away from this one. But the speed up is coming. Let's see the stun.
All right, Gemini, trying to walk forward. No, there's the root on the blade collar still going.
Still going.
Sky Splitter, he's got him. 1, 2, down. Needs one more hit, and I think Gemini is going to get the shutdown.
What a beautiful play from Mission right here. He drops the ball on the ground, flashes away, keeps himself alive, and then gets the, I believe that was a triple on the Shockwave right there. Caught a lot of people, even had his tower shot coming in range, and this is a massive win for CFO. This is sort of what happened last time as well. CFO do have the stronger mid lane.
And Mission is just proving why these champions, these Oriana picks, the Gallia, what he can really do on these champions. It's just kind of beyond what you figure in the standard matchup. Let's take a look at the play again, because it was PSG closing the trap. Keep your eyes on Mission here. He's got enough mana for the Shockwave. He gets cut off, and then as soon as everybody jumps into him, they get the 2-man, and into the Gemini bear drop. That was a beautifully coordinated strike.
Yeah, Mission...
well,
goodbye, Shun.
Oh boy! They're gonna get some revenge. Nicely done. Bay and Kaiwing double up. Really good dredge lines again for Kaiwing. But look what's happening mid lane. We're gonna see Mission picking up plates.
Yeah, that was a bit of a weird sequence coming in from Shun right there. He even used both of his summoners. Koala just tapping some damage. I like that play, you know, get as much as you possibly can. But the bot lane is just such a weird move from Shun. Unforced errors again from CFO. And we could see Unify just running away with this already. He's got the Mythic complete. If he can push this one down, they also have the, that's what I wanted to say, the Herald there as well. So PSG, they've had some turbulence, but if they just swap their lanes around, they have 2 very strong winning lanes. And that means that Rest is going to have to force to come out and play against this Gnar that's ahead without a tower.
Yeah, that's going to be a little tough as things go on. I do think that Shun is going to have to be one of the late game win conditions as well, though, right? Because he did opt into this losing matchup, but as the game goes on, Aphelios, one of our standard hyper carries, with Jinx being banned away, he goes onto this champion he's a little bit less familiar with as far as the stage games go, at the very least. But Unified going to be relying on his ability to team fight it out with this Xayah. Tower gets knocked down. That's first brick. Here comes Juhan wrapping around the side, but CFO are going to cover their bases a little bit more. A lot of vision invested in this jungle to stop PSG from outflanking them again.
And I think what CFO have to do is get Mission into these fights. Here we go.
Oh, okay, that's only going to pull in 1. Oh, he gets yoinked right on back, and a little bit of a late response here. Can Koala and Gemini find a return kill? The answer's no.
This time around, Mission doesn't have his flash, and I don't think the Shockwave actually managed to get the crowd control down. Juan, holding on to his Onslaught of Shadow, was able to negate that, so they just rushed down a kill, even though they were walking through pure vision on the side of CFO. Very nicely done by PSG, and they find the hook!
Oh, Koala, that was blind into the bushes. Well done there, as Kaiwing finds it. Unified claiming the kill. Just beautiful game sense, and it'll open up the Hextech Drake as well. PSG, after a little bit of a mistake in the mid and saved fight by Mission, they come roaring right back.
This is always what happens in PSG games. The rest of the map, They can make mistakes, but when it comes to Kaiwing and Unified, they're just always there to pick up the slack. So PSG once again dominate the bottom side. This is a 3-1 lead already. Gemini trying to do some cheeky stops, and they will get Kaiwing on that one. So nicely done on his part for that. Does buy a lot of time to open up on this mid. But the next thing that they have to worry about is this rotation from the bottom side. I do expect them to just swap Unified and have him sit on top of Rest. If Zaya goes into that matchup, Zaya's going to have superior range against Rest, and with the item advantage, should be able to just push him in as well. So it makes Rest's job as a 4-1 point that much more difficult to hold on. I think for CFO, they really need the most out of this Rakan to kind of put the edge back.
Ooh, Gemini actually gets caught pulling a little too far forward, and he's going to be forced to Stormbringer into the Dragon Pits, but look who's coming to cut him off. Flashes, tries for the jukes, but oh dear, he went way too deep into the wrong territory. Now Juhan trying to outplay him 1v1, so actually getting turned around as PSG didn't really realize how fast he can actually go. He might be able to do this, but he's got friends coming. He gets the 1v1. Mistakes on both sides.
Oh, that was so hilarious. Juhan thought he could do it by himself, but he forgot about how damaging the W is from the Volibear. He's able to get the sustain off and get the second proc off. So that just, it's so hilarious because it gives Rest so much to claw back. Koala?
Okay, wow, he's actually going to be able to get away with the quickness. All right, so this opens up a little bit more map movement, right? Just a lot of little mistakes being capitalized on left and right. Rest should be able to knock down this tower, not on this wave. Well, with Bay here, it's going to be a little harder, but he's gotten a bit of a breather, and man, I think we're seeing stage jitters by both these squads, Clement.
Yeah, very interesting plays by both sides. I just think Juhan, in that specific moment, was probably shouting his lungs out in Korean, and the rest of his teammates were just like, I don't understand, what is this guy saying? And they just kind of walked their own ways, leaving him to the maws of the bear. So a little bit unfortunate for Juhan right there. And I do think, again, as you said, the biggest winner likely going to be Rest out of that. Ooh, Hanabi!
Oh dear, Mission. I don't think he expected Hanabi to be right there. However, he is going to Shockwave, keep this 1v1 going if he can actually hold Hanabi in this lane. But the flash forward, he's going to try to run for the hills. Dodges out the boulder toss. Gemini coming in for backup a little too late, and Hanabi just continuing to be a terror. Now on these side lanes, Hullbreaker, of course, in his pocket. That's going to open up the opportunity for the Herald drop in mid. Unified and Juhan should be able to fire this one down without too much trouble.
Yeah, CFO look like they're not going to contest on the tier 1 at the very least. Just going to let that one go down, and we are going to move into a Mountain Soul this game. So I think this one's actually very useful for both of these teams. You do expect them to entertain the 5v5 quite often. I think both of these teams have that capability. So just preserving the front line is going to be very good for both of them. On the flip side here, we do have something developing, which is Bay now sitting at 3-1-3. We were talking about Nar shutting down the Grays, but I think Bay might have the potential to do the same as well, especially with his second item going into the Thimblewinter.
Yeah, Bay's going to be pretty tanky, and if he can get the front line and get those Rune Prisons down and just cycle, overload cycle, like over and over again, it's going to be a little hard for CFO to really take him out of this one. And obviously Hanabi's just going to continue to be a thorn in the side of anybody who deals with him. He's actually moving forward on his build. The Hearthbound Axe is already complete, and that means it looks like he's going for a wit's end.
I think it's Triforce for now. Just
to
finish off that Mythic first off. Yeah, it's really weird. We don't see this much, but goodbye, Shun. The second time he gets caught out.
It is worrying to see Shun just getting blown up over and over again. That is cause for concern.
Yeah, and we have to remember that he is just a rookie. He's only played against PSG and Unified once in his entire career. Koala shedding some tears for his fallen AD carry, and now they're going to get pinched down. So CFO just, I'll be honest, I feel like this game CFO has just made so many individual mistakes where they get caught out by PSG. And props to PSG, they're able to punish so beautifully with Bay just closing the trap. And out of nowhere, even though Bay wasn't doing so hot in lane, he has been able to pick up 7 takedowns, and he has a 400 gold bounty on him. He's the most fed member on the team at this point.
Yeah, that's a little bit tough for them to be dealing with. Bay is just in the right place at the right time. I mean, a few mistakes made by some of the individual players of PSG, but as you pointed out at the start, the big difference between these two teams is while CFO have individually some of the most skilled players in the league, PSG just have the best cohesion overall. And they just picked the right moves on the map. This is going to be Hanabi and Juhan comboing up to finish off the first Mountain Drake, building their Drake stack. Obviously, it got a little bit delayed because CFO picked up the first dragon. That was the Ocean. Ooh, nice double root down there. And they're just going to keep locking Flying Oyster out. And yeah, we're definitely seeing some mistakes that I don't think we were used to in the regular season or even in the earlier stages of playoffs. Like Shun, this is a man that's not used to losing, Clement. He's only lost one stage game since coming in for this squad.
Yeah, he's done incredibly well, a lot of it in that teamfight situation. But I think one of the weaknesses of CFO is a lot of times they haven't been able to keep Shun alive. When we've seen the teamfights, they're still much more focused on deleting the enemy backline rather than protecting their own. They're just not very used to playing with the hyper carry. So we'll see if that still is the case here for Shun at this point, because he is so far behind. We do see him going for more of just like the... I think he's probably going to go for a Bloodthirster here, just for a little bit more survivability. There is a lot of die potential, and with how fed Gnar actually is right now, he probably needs that just to stretch out the fights a little bit more. I do expect PSG in the next couple of fights to have a dominating advantage. You know, they are at about 5,000 gold. Their front line is incredibly beefy at this point. So if PSG just run the next couple of fights front to back, CFO are going to find it very difficult to match.
And they opted into this, right? They could have gone for the more team fight focus, but they gave Rest champion to 1v1. He never really had the opportunity as he just got outplayed early on. And, well, they are now paying for their hubris in game one here. Koala looks for an opportunity, can't quite find it, but he is nice and safe, slipping out on that battle dance. And keeping Rest on the side lanes, teleport at the ready should he need it. But PSG, as you mentioned, looking a lot stronger. Rest runs face first into the Gnar. Triforce completed, as you were saying. This is going to be very hard for him to fight it out.
Yeah, and PSG do have the opportunity just to push CFO in and then instantly TP back to the Baron. So they have to be very much aware of that play. I call it the Birgerson because I feel like he's the best player that's done this play or really pioneered it. So CFO, they have to keep vision around the Baron. I do see that they're swapping over to a lot of trinkets here. You see even the Graves is going for the trinket at this point just to make sure that they can always intercept if the Realm Warp goes directly for the Purple Worm.
Yeah, trying to make sure PSG don't get a blind advantage, and as they lose out on a lot of their jungle right now, it's going to start getting a little bit dark. I do see a couple of lane wards placed down. If they wanted to have a teleport opportunity for mission arrest, Juhan is actually going to start up on the Baron, but that was just, I think, a ward clearing maneuver. So down in the dark they go. It's going to mean Gemini and Koala have to go on a roam to try and drop that one back in. Always a little bit dangerous.
No, I think for PSG, it's very easy to play out this game plan. You just continue to constrict onto the top side, and then you can use Realm Warp to instantly get your team directly into the mid lane for a free tower, or even for a free Baron if CFO back out enough. So there's plenty of ways for them to play it. And for CFO, the question becomes, can they actually sneak out something on the other side of the map? If PSG is going to invest heavily into the red side, can they perhaps get a chance to go into the Drake side where they can set up vision without PSG catching them out on it? That's probably CFO's best plan to get back. I don't see them really having the burst potential right now to catch PSG out, and for that matter, PSG is usually very careful about these maneuvers as well. So I do want to see CFO try a little bit to go for the Drake, just try to stretch PSG or force them to rotate across the map so some more vision blind spots do open up for themselves.
Yeah, and they're finding out that they have been pretty much spotted out by PSG pretty consistently, not able to really push them out of the jungle as they just kind of own that side around the back of Baron Pit. 23, almost 24 minutes on the clock, that gold lead. PSG still at about 5,500, looking to grow here as they just try to take more and more of the map away. But PSG are happy with this game state. As you said, they have pretty decent scaling. They have decent fight potential. Obviously, like, you know, the Orianna Aphelios combo is going to get really, really problematic for them as the game does go on. But the 5v5 they feel pretty confident in, and Juhan can set these fights up even more efficiently now. Dead Man's play completed. Going to be an extremely speedy horse at the races.
Oh yeah, he's just going to be rushing for the backline here, and I'm pretty surprised by Should not going for the Bloodthirster. He's going to go for raw damage here, so he is eyeing onto the late game strategy for his team as well. I thought because of the frontline threat, he might need a little bit more survivability. Just again, he doesn't really have a tank on his team outside of the Volibear, so it is a very dire situation for him. And I think for PSG, what they've been doing with their pink boards is also really nice. They're dropping most of their pinks in the river itself, so the rate that they're replacing the pinks is actually a lot lower than CFO. They're basically forcing a vision tax onto CFO. They're getting a lot of these pinks down in their own river, and here we go. They get Mission.
They find it on a Mission. That's a good start. Meanwhile, Gemini, the rest of the team is a little bit split here, and he's going to go into stasis, but I think that could be a problem as he's forced to Stormbringer right into the flank of Bay, and as they're forced on different fights, a big knockup from Koala. Do they have the damage to Shockwave? It's not quite enough to delete anybody off the map, and Mission goes down. CFO running for the hills as Gemini is just out of steam, and so is Shun. They can't really get much done. Hanabi almost has the Narbar up, and Rest is going to be left for dead with 2 down. PSG aren't going to opt for the Baron just yet. Maybe they will, actually. I thought after that back it wouldn't be enough, but the teleport's on. They can take this one for free.
So nicely done by the side of PSG here. They throw in a sort of a feint attack here by Kaiwing, bait the rest of the team to stay, and then Juhan outplays Mission super hard. He gets the Onslaught of Shadows just as his Shockwave is about to go down, cancels the crowd control, gets the Decimating Smash back onto Mission, basically sends him to his death. And, you know, I think CFO sort of overplayed their hands in this one. Their goals here should have been to draw PSG out and hurt them, beat them on the engage, but they actually overextend a little bit and open themselves up to the real deal. PSG just run into them, and watch Juhan right here as he outplays Mission. Mission tries to save with the Shockwave, but the pony runs straight for him, dodging out on the ultimate, gets the fear down, kills him instantly, and now it's the most fed member on CFO just down. Shun gets Hanabi straight on his face, flash for flash trade. They know the damage is gone, and they just chase him down.
Yeah, speaking of chasing him down, Juhan comes in to slow down Rest. He is going to be able to walk back to the relative safety of Tier 2, but things are just getting better and better here. Oh, maybe we turn it now as Kaiwing does go down. That was a mistake from the PSG support, but Unified's out scot-free.
Good engage here coming in from Koala. Does catch out onto the 2-man. PSG, in the meantime, they still get a lot of stuff done here. And, you know, the top wave, the bot lane is still pushing in. But that does mean Koala can rotate and help one of these 2 lanes down. So, at the very least, CFO do get 1 Baron buff down and keep them off their heels for just a second here. But all 3 of these towers seem to be going down.
Yeah, just little by little, PSG building those advantages for themselves, and just 1 more hit from the Baron-empowered cannons, all they need. Unified going to pick the gold up, meanwhile, Rest. Okay, the 2 junglers actually staring each other down in this choke point, but Rest is going to hold the line for now.
Yeah, and it gets really hard for CFO to play in this situation. PSG, even though they're not running a 1-3-1 comp, their side laners are fed enough to the point where they can just do this, and as a rule of thumb, in League of Legends, if you have the enemy, all 3 lanes are pushed up past your river, you're going to lose something on the map. Your best chance is to straight up engage in the mid 3v3, but that most likely means you're just going to be burning silent inhibitor tower. So I feel like for PSG, for CFO right now, their best bet is, you know, hold tight, give up on all of these outers, try to hold the base until the Baron buff goes down, and once the Baron buff goes down, you can look for that engage. That means that the threat from the side lanes just going completely haywire and taking up your 2 inhibitors, the risk of that goes down quite a lot, and then you can start to find your engages. But it's still 20 seconds on the clock, and you know I think PSG should be able to take the bottom lane tower down just with the 4-1 quite easily.
Yeah, here they go, looking to set this up and rotate into the Mountain Soul. Juhan leading the charge, and CFO know that there's no chance to contest this. Down it goes. So with only base left, PSG continue to push in. Gemini runs out of steam on the charge. A minute left until this mountain. And that would be pretty huge here. I don't know if CFO are in a position to try and counterfight it out. We've been holding on to the teleports. Rest has his up in a few more moments.
Yeah, we don't have any flanking wards coming into the bottom side. PSG have so much vision to play with, and again, they do have the Realm Warp possibility to just go for that objective. So I think what CFO want to do is they want to continue to draw PSG onto the top side of the map and just kind of hold them out until there is a potential for a split match situation. That's probably their best play for now, but I think for PSG, the ease of execution is just so much. They can just push in and just switch over towards the Drake once it happens. If I'm CFO, I feel like I have to concede this Mountain Soul over to the side of CFO.
That feels bad, right? I mean, you never want to give it up unless it's like a super one that's just not very useful for the team taking it. But yeah, they're so far down that they really can't do much. I mean, this is just a 2-man Mountain Dragon between Juhan and Kaiwing, and I mean, sure, they can bring Unified and finish it off really easily, but they don't even really need to.
And CFO are nowhere to be seen on this one. They don't have any objectives to take, so they can't get any objective bounty gold back. And the best they can do is set up some measly vision here on the top side, but all of those wards that they just placed are likely to have been spotted by PSG on their paths there, so I do expect PSG to just be able to sweep in here. Very nice balancing of objective timers, always focusing on one point on the map. If you're the winning team, this is exactly how you want to set things up. You don't want split timers where the team can get back objective bounty gold. You want there to be only one focus on the map at a time, and you can see those wards really are not lasting much against PSG whatsoever.
PSG are flush with gold, too. They can just keep putting the wards down as much as they want. Anyways, it's a 10,000 gold lead here, and it's translated to a pretty big item edge as Koala looked like he was going for a play, didn't quite run in for it. But, yeah, again, I don't even know if it's fully advised. I mean, you look at what PSG are working with right now, just about every role. They've got themselves a full item lead and some change. We saw off that last back. You know, Bay picks up his Force of Nature. The Collector gets completed for Unified. It's going to be harder and harder for CFO to try and take this fight. Unified's a little bit close here, and he's going to go into the Feather Storm. That denies the engage. The teleport is going to be completed by Hanabi, and that means first tower going down. Narbar about to extend, and Rest does flash away from the big Gnar, but that's going to open up the inhibitor all the same.
Yep, base is already broken wide open. CFO, they can't really defend against this one. They're going to be pushed back to their own tower, and their main engage tool is also down. Without the quickness, their other combo that they have is Gemini plus the Shockwave. Unified does not have the Featherstorm anymore, so that might be where they go.
Koala! He just gets deleted in absolute chaos right now. CFO just do not have a chance as PSG pick them apart one by one. Mission running away from his own base, and he's just going to be felled in one big swoop. Rest is the last man standing, and PSG are going to close this game out right here in full control.
Oh, what a beautiful Realm Warp. I've never seen a Realm Warp where you send the AD carry to the back of the enemy team, but they were so fed that it doesn't matter. They can afford to get Unified as the closer in this one. Just send him right into the midst of mission, and he still survives, even picks up a couple kills here. PSG with just such a clean and dominating game one here. I have to say, I'm just not impressed with that Graves option. I feel like the Graves is probably the worst champion you want to execute a 4-1 for, because he provides absolutely nothing else if he doesn't win lane. He's it's not like a Camille where if you lose lane, you still have the engage. It's not like a Gangplank where you still have global pressure or anything. If Graves doesn't win,